Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on a streaming service, this is Vocal Arts with Peter Barber. Just recently I had the immense joy to speak with Big Brev, the most viral man on Instagram right now. Absolutely nutty. His following has gone from, I think he told me, like 5,000 at the start of summer to almost 600,000 as I record this introduction. Absolutely crazy. Dude has an amazing voice, was a very well-trained opera singer, pivoted towards teaching, and then recently has gotten into this short-form content showing how he can sing any style of music, and has the craziest vocal range. And you get to learn why he is so fluent in so many styles of singing in the interview. It was a really great chat, and really at first we just kind of wanted to meet each other. He reached out to me about it, and I was like, hey dude, why don't we just turn it into a podcast? I'd love to have you on the channel. So we chatted for a while on the episode, then we chatted for a while afterwards, and truly I would say became friends. So Big Brev, shout out to you, man. Thanks for coming on the show. Guys, please sit back and enjoy this awesome conversation with a bunch of crazy different turns in it. I know you will have fun with it. So please welcome Danny Brevik, aka Big Brev.
One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take or even go. What you say? That is just the water we need. You decided this. What you say?
All hands hoist the colors high.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel and or podcast. I'm here with Big Brev, and I'm actually going to pass the baton over to him and allow him to introduce himself and let y'all know what he's up to these days.
What's up, everyone? So, first and foremost, I'm Big Brev. People call me Danny. People call me Brev. I'm a singer. I'm a bass baritone. I'm also a voice teacher. I also absolutely love to spend time with my golden retriever, training him, playing games with him. I have a beautiful wife, Jen. We live in Massachusetts. I love doing DIY home renovations. I love animals. I love all sorts of like cool hobbies like that, weightlifting. That's about that.
Jack of all trades.
Sure.
Well, we're definitely going to talk about fitness at some point. Fitness,
let's do it.
lifting,
Yeah,
but we'll get the music boxes all checked first. So I'm actually curious,
Sure.
Where did your formal training actually start? Like, I believe you did go to like undergrad for opera. What is your actual background in musical training?
All right. So, yeah, I was self-taught up to a point. Probably, I guess most of us are, but I started singing really like in a high chair. We have home movies of me singing in nonsense syllables, like decent tuning, decent rhythm. So I kind of followed that really throughout middle school. I got really into singing in middle school. I was mimicking an Anne Murray commercial, like from beginning to end with all the commentary, like all the inflections and everything. I was really good at that. And I went into school one day in 7th grade, and I did the whole commercial for my class, and everyone was cracking up because they were like, dude, that's spot on. Because it was like a commercial that was playing on Nickelodeon like all the time at the time. Everyone had seen it. And so they got our chorus teacher into the classroom, and they were like, you got to hear him sing. Like they didn't really know that I could sing. So I sang that whole commercial for her, and she immediately got me into chorus. And at that point in my life, I had very bad grades. Like I was totally like a delinquent. I was a troublemaker. I didn't have really a whole lot going for me. So luckily I found singing, and that turned into my anchor really from that point forward. When I like went on to high school, that chorus teacher, her name was Miss Stinson. She formed a group for those kids that were kind of going on, that were moving on, so that they could still work with her. And she formed a community group, and that got me singing literally any genre you can think of. classic rock, country, jazz, Disney songs, R&B, everything, Christmas songs, Josh Groban song, not a whole lot of opera, but like kind of getting into classical, I guess, via Josh Groban and that kind of thing. After that, I went to high school. I did all-state regionals. I did chorus there. And that was when my chorus teacher there was also a great mentor for me, Mr. Britton. He asked me one day, "Hey, what do you want to do with your life?" Like I was still kind of a troublemaker at the time. Like I still goofed off a lot. I was the kid that sat in the back of the class, didn't do a whole lot, but would randomly break out into song. And like my teachers would like they supported it. You know what I mean? Like they knew like, yeah, Danny, he's not doing probably that great in class, but man, he can sing, you know? And so they like they let me have that. And so Mr. Britton sat me down after we had just done like a run of Into the Woods, and he was like, you know, you got a lot of potential in this. What do you want to do? And I was like, I think I want to sing. I mean, that's the most obvious thing. So at that time, I already missed all the auditions for colleges pretty much. So he got me in his room. He made a few phone calls. He called UMass and he called Plymouth State University because I had taken some interest in that just because a lot of my friends were going there. And he called him up and he said, "Hey, I have a young man here who's got a hell of a voice, and he missed your deadline. Is there any chance you could hear him?" And they were like, "Definitely, a guy. Yeah, get him up." So
a bass?
so I did that.
A bass?
Yeah, right. And I went to UMass and I sang like a few Frank Sinatra songs with a karaoke track, with a CD karaoke. I had no sheet music. I had no idea what I was doing. And I left there with like a full ride scholarship offer. So I was feeling pretty good, man. I was like, oh, nice. This is all falling into place. And then I went up to Plymouth State and I fell in love with the campus, the program. I got to see a musical. I just thought, oh my God, this is the place. So the audition rolls up. I pull out that little CD and they're like, "So what are you going to sing?" And I pull out my CD and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to sing some." And they're like, whoa. What's that? I'm like, "That's my karaoke CD." And they're like, "We don't do karaoke CDs." And I was like, uh-oh.
That's all I got.
That's what I got. So then they had to like run around the building trying to find one of those little purple circular boom boxes that like from like the early 2000s. And luckily someone had one in their room. They brought it down and I auditioned with a few Franks. I think it was like "Fly Me to the Moon." For my classical piece, I sang "Amazing Grace." And then they asked if I sang anything in Italian. And I said, "Time to Say Goodbye" by Andrea Bocelli. And I didn't really know it. I kind of knew it. Like, I certainly didn't have a track for it. Well, needless to say, I got into the program. I didn't get a lot of scholarship. And so then it turned into, should I go to UMass or Plymouth? No, I loved Plymouth. That was the thing. So we ended up deciding to go to Plymouth, where I focused on musical theater, singing, and, you know, general music. I will say this, even at Plymouth, I was a little bit of a delinquent, except for when it came to my singing and like getting through the courses I really needed to get through. All those gen eds, I was kind of like, meh, that wasn't, it was very obvious that I'm a singer and this is anything that has to do with making sounds, music. It's like, sign me up. So at that point, I wasn't doing opera though. So and I didn't have an operatic voice really at all. That was probably the one genre that I hadn't explored. And when you heard me sing, you didn't necessarily think opera. So like there was a few voice teachers on faculty there at Plymouth that kind of heard it. And I did a voice lesson with a guy named Charles Stanton, and he sang like an aria for me. He was like, just try to do it like that. And so I just mimicked him and I did it. And he was like, "Dude, are you kidding? That's opera. You're an opera singer." I was like, all right. So I just started singing like that. I was just mimicking him for a while. He ended up leaving, going to another university. So like I bounced around a few studios and I wasn't really finding my jam at that point. But my anchor at that point was Vocal Order, my a cappella group. So like I originally got into a cappella because like High Sound came to our school and they did a concert and I was just blown away. So I was like, I got to do a cappella, and Vocal Order was the group that was the male group at the time. And so I got into that, and that's where I really established my stage presence. I think my comfort in my body. I always had like a discomfort because I'm 6'5", I'm a big guy, and I always would close off. And that was probably where I learned not to do that. I got really comfortable in my own skin through Vocal Order, and then eventually Vineyard Sound, which is another a cappella group of Martha's Vineyard. And in that we used to do Zombie Jamboree by Rockapella. And at the end, there's like some shtick where we like mimic an opera singer. And like that was like my thing, man. Like when we sang at opera, we all would hold like this high note and then they would cut us off, but I wouldn't cut out. Everyone would cut out except for me. And I just like hold this high note. I don't remember what it was. And then they would pretend to like blow dart me and they'd go like, and I'd be like, oh, and I'd like fall over. It was like shtick, acapella shtick. And like the audience seemed to really dig that. And so it was just kind of a obvious decision at that point. Like, yeah, we're gonna follow this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say that's really where I got my training, was like just through that. My voice teacher at Plymouth State that I worked with for the last 2 years was Dr. Kathleen Arecki, and her and I got like incredibly close. Yeah.
Oh, sure. Man, okay, well, that's because you're definitely known as someone that can bounce between genres really fluently as a singer. And so now hearing your whole upbringing and your background, it makes so much sense. Because
Right.
usually, and I'm sure you know this, people who train primarily as opera singers and like first and foremost as opera singers really struggle to sing other genres if they're really formally trained in opera as a first. So I always wondered for you, because for some reason I thought opera was your main thing like the whole way up. And so now it makes so much more sense that you're like, you can absolutely like rip in all these different genres and you're not kind of held back by the sometimes like that formality that's baked into
Sure.
the opera training.
Sure.
So,
I mean, like when I was like a little kid, though, I would just come up with all my own exercises. We didn't have a lot of money growing up. Voice lessons weren't even an option. And I didn't really think I wanted them. I just loved making up my own sounds, and I would just do them all the time. Like I got home from school, I had a paper route, so I would do the papers, and then I would go home and I had the house to myself, and I would just always make sounds. That was a big thing with me. I was a loud kid, always just making weird sounds. Like I would just hear it like a bike horn, and I would do it. I'd hear like the whipped cream, and I'd mimic that, and I'd hear whatever the sound was. I was like, I have to make that sound. If I couldn't do it, I would just hammer it over and over again until I could. And one sound that I loved was my low falsetto, because there was like a lot of characters, like Disney characters or whatnot, like Pooh Bear, people like that would speak in it. So I would work on that all the time, like this like low falsetto sound. Like I thought it was funny. So like I used to do like
funny.
weird things.
It is still
I used
funny.
to just do weird things like that all the time, and I right, yeah, that guy from Family Guy. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's
Right. Right. So I think I was kind of like, I was really self-taught to a degree before I even started getting like more than most people, I think.
Yeah, if you just showed up and just like got a full, like I didn't get any scholarship for undergrad. I was dog shit at opera when I first went to school. It's just like
Right.
all training. I sang a
Well,
bunch,
that was
but definitely was not full ride for classical voice worthy at that time.
so that wasn't a classical program. That was a jazz program. It was vocal jazz.
Okay, that's probably what I should have auditioned for at that point.
Yeah,
I
right.
actually did a jazz singing group in high school.
Okay.
That was like
I didn't know.
I
that.
did like jazz and sang like Backstreet Boys, and aside from that, it was just sports.
Oh, nice.
That's
sick. Yeah. Oh man, I remember those days. Yeah, I used to sing a lot of Backstreet Boys too. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, dude, so much fun. Okay, so undergrad, and then but you went from there to doing more of like the formal opera path, right? Like you did some young artist programs.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff like
So
that.
so I mentioned that I was working with Dr. Arecki. So she was great, man. Like she was unbelievable. She used to sign me into competitions without even asking me, and then would just be like, "Oh, by the way, like we signed you into this," and like she even bought me like plane tickets sometimes to these. And one year, Cheryl Milnes was judging a versatility singing competition. He was one of the judges. I forget who the other judges were, but they tried to get categories from different genres, and she thought that was right up my like right in my wheelhouse, because I got to show off the different genres. And I got to meet Cheryl Milnes, and I won. I didn't win, but I won the People's Choice Award, and I got to work with Cheryl Milnes in a master class. And in that master class, he asked me if I had signed into the Boston Nats competition, and that competition changed my life. So I sang Handel's Messiah, "Thus saith the Lord," for him, and "Who May Abide," the aria that follows. And I did that at Boston Nats, and I I won first place, and in the audience was a few schools, Rutgers, NEC, and Westminster Choir College. And I got into all those schools because of that competition. But NEC gave me a huge, huge scholarship plus a stipend. And so like that competition just completely rerouted my life. It was kind of crazy because at the time I wasn't in a situation probably to graduate because I didn't do my piano proficiency. And so they had to rewrite my degree to take that out so that I could go to NEC. So like they had to like play with the degree a little bit. So I didn't get the same degree that you would have got had you done the piano proficiency. They worded it a little differently just so I could get the scholarship and go to NEC. And it was a really important time in my life. Like the president of the school at Plymouth State, her and the provost, they chipped in and got me a tuxedo as like a gift. Like it was my first tuxedo because I never had like a nice one, and it was a nice little send off to send me into like the conservatory world. And then when I got to NEC, obviously, I mean, you've been to institutions very similar to NEC. Where did you go?
I did Miami for a bit, University of Miami, then finished at James Madison, Virginia, master's at USC in Los Angeles, and then Academy of Vocal Arts in Philly.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, okay. So you
The-
know,
the whole
you know
thing.
even more than I know what those institutes. They're so intense, aren't they?
Oh yeah, dude.
Oh man, they're nuts. Especially like that first week. You're like,
Did-
yo,
did
what
you-
have I gotten myself into?
Academy of Vocal Arts in Philly is the ultimate version of that.
That's the ultimate. I know.
The ultimate.
I've known people who went through. They're always absolute beasts of singers. Like, oh man, the best. Well, that's incredible. NEC's not quite like that, but
it's a great school though.
Yeah, and let's see, that was in 2011. 2011. I was there 2011 through 2013, and my coach while I was there was Stephen Lord. Have you heard of Stephen Lord?
I have, yeah.
All right, and I'm assuming I know why you've heard of Stephen Lord, because this was long before there were any of that type of thing. But
yeah.
He was my coach, mentor, conductor. He worked with me a lot, like, and he was really, really hard on me. Like, he didn't pick a lot of students to work with, and he would kind of play like almost like mind games with us, like the people he was working with. He'd really build you up in front of a group, like in front of all of my peers, like everyone in my class. He would point me out and be like, yeah, someday Danny's going to be a famous opera singer. He would say stuff like that, like in class. And like, it was always like, oh man, I feel great. But then once we had a coaching, it was like, oh man, I suck. It was his way of trying to get me to really push myself to just be as good as I possibly could. And so he coached me for those 2 years. And I also did I did a few shows there. They did a good job kind of building a program around who they had, and I got featured quite a bit. And then I auditioned for the Opera Theater of St. Louis right before I graduated, and it was the year that Stephen Lohr was going on sabbatical. So he was the music director at OTSL at the time, but he was on sabbatical my year where I was auditioning. So when I auditioned, like, he was in the room, but he didn't have final say on who was getting in. And so I sang "Thus Saith the Lord" again, which they told us they really didn't want us to sing, oratorio. They wanted opera, but it was still my best aria, so that's what I offered. And I got waitlisted, and I was crushed. So I emailed, Stephen Lord, and I was just like, Maestro, thank you so much for the opportunity. What a great learning experience. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen this year, but still, it was a great learning experience. And he texted me back, and he's like, you didn't get in? What do you mean you didn't get in? And I was like, yeah, I don't know. I didn't get in. And all of a sudden, 5 minutes later, I got in. I was in. All of a sudden, I was in. And I'll tell you, man, not getting in, it put a huge chip on my shoulder, because I was like, this company didn't really want me. And so everything that I had lined up at NEC for that semester, I canceled, which I don't think NEC was too happy with. Like, I denied the role they offered me. I denied my master's recital. I said, I'll do it next year. I'm focusing on OTSL only, nothing but my music for OTSL, because I'm going to go out there and I'm going to be a beast. And I showed up for our like Pirates of Penzance choir rehearsal that first week. We're all scared, man, because it's Young Artist Program. It's OTSL. It's one of the greatest ones in the world. But I was off book. I was like, I'm ready. And everyone else was not off book, which is fine. That's normal, right? But James Robinson, our director, came in and was like, just gonna let you guys know we're running early. We got to get into staging a lot sooner, so we're gonna be starting staging. I think he like in 2 days or something. And I was like, all right, this is my chance. This is my opportunity to prove to them that like they picked the right guy. So I went in there off book. Pirates, Penzance. It's a comedic show. You got to ham it up. You got to have a good sense of humor. Those are all. I check all those boxes, I think. And I mean, I definitely did. Like, I really brought it. I came up with like our police walk. They were all cracking up with this walk I was doing. It was like this like funny like Charlie Chaplin type walk, and they ended up having everyone do it. Like they were like, everyone watch Danny, do it again, hold on, now do it again, and they're like having everyone do my walk. Like that was like what set the tone for me, was like this experience in Pirates of Penzance very early on. And at the end of that season, they apologized for me for waitlisting me, and they said, we want you to audition for like a big role for next year. And so I was auditioning for someone that I honestly had never heard of. And I went in, I sang all my arias, and I left. And I called my girlfriend at the time. She's not my wife, Jen. And I was like, yeah, I was singing for this guy. His name is Ricky Ian Gordon. And she was like, what? That's Ricky Ian Gordon. He wrote a lot of the music I did at my master's set. I was like, really? I was like, well, I'm glad I didn't know that going in there, because, I knocked him dead. Like, I had a great audition. And so a few weeks later, they reached out and they said, hey, we were really impressed with your audition. We're going to write a role for you. We're going to have Ricky Ian Gordon write it. You're going to play Ernest Hemingway / Henri Matisse in this new opera called 27. It was about the life of Gertrude Stein, about her salon. And you're going to play a big role. I had my own aria, had a few duets, a few trios, a bunch of like smaller, like choral type parts. So and then it came out that our Gertrude Stein was Stephanie Blythe. And Stephanie Blythe was someone that like I used to watch at like Met HD Productions. That was how I knew of her. Like, she's famous, right? And here I am. I'm going to be sharing the stage with her. That was absolutely mind-boggling. And then even a few weeks later, I got a message from them saying, "Hey, you're going to be on the cover of Opera News. We're going to be on the cover for this." So, like, and now we're making a CD, and we're going to have the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra playing the orchestra part in that. And dude, I was in this was like 3-4 months into my professional career. Like, I was terrified. Like, I was excited, but like at the same time, I mean, I had a lump in my throat and I was terrified. I felt like a huge imposter, big time imposter syndrome. But I got after it. I completely just got after it. That's all I did really that year, was focus on 27, coaching it up. I spent all my money that I had to my name on getting it coached. I hired my coach. His name was Damien. I had him make me a study guide, like rehearsal track that I would constantly just listen to. At that point, I really wasn't that good at reading music. I kind of coasted without it. So like I was really depending on Damien a lot at that point. But I got it memorized. Sorry, what was that?
Were you at NEC the next year while you were prepping for the main stage at OTSL? So you were
No,
done.
I wasn't.
So you were freelance,
I was done.
hanging out.
Yeah,
Okay.
dude. And like, honestly, I wished that I had, in hindsight, I should have done a graduate diploma. Definitely, because I was still like a little kid and at heart. Like, I wasn't put together at all. I didn't have a lot of money saved up. I wasn't one of those like well put together people at that time. I was like living out of my
2015, you said?
This was 2013 or after, 2013.
Okay.
Like going into 2014. So
Okay.
this was right after the 2013 season. And like I was kind of like living out of my car between my girlfriend's parents' house, my mom's basement. Like I was a mess. I should have definitely tried to get into a graduate diploma. But I didn't. I roughed it and I worked on NEC, and then I took odd jobs. I've always had odd jobs. Like I worked on boilers, furnaces. I've worked as a carpenter. I've worked in my dad's auto body shop. Like I've always taken odd jobs. And so I kind of just did that for a while I was learning 27, and showed up, did 27, and we knocked it out of the park, man. Like we got great reviews. Like, it was a great way to start a career. That's for sure. Like it was kind of mind boggling. Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, where did it go from there? I mean, what came in as a result of that performance?
Yeah. So, well, they hired me again for the next year. Actually, in that 2014 year, that was the year we did 27. Liz Jaroff was there that year. That was where I met her. I saw her on your podcast a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
That's where I
dude.
met her.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's great. We sang at a few galas together in St. Louis too. It's cool when these paths kind of cross. And now she's
Amazing.
obviously like she's like the most famous YouTuber right now. It's like
Yeah, she dipped on the opera world.
yeah, right. She yeah, she's a savage. So anyways, yeah, it led to me going back the next year, plus a whole slew of concerts, and like I got invited to their board meetings at OTSL. I was singing for their galas. They had me do a ton of outreach where I would like visit the schools in like Ferguson, Missouri. Actually, we should get back to that at some point because that also kind of got me going in another direction. And yeah, so I did that, and then I went back and I did Tobias Picker's Emmeline. I played Pastor Avery, and that was a bass role, so like very bassy. I think it only went up to like middle C. And so I didn't even warm up that whole summer. Like it was like I'm not even warming up because sometimes you lose the bottom when you have the top. And it was one of those. It was that was a very fun summer because it was it was a principal role, but it wasn't like huge. So you had a lot of like free time. You could work out a lot. You could get into like some other hobbies. Yeah. I will say that OTSL, all I did was work out. It's like when I wasn't on stage and like rehearsal, it was like the gym was right there. It was pretty sweet.
Dude, that's the
It was a
dream.
good time. Yeah, it was a great job. And rehearsals didn't start till 10 a.m.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Okay, so so now that summer would be 2015, I think, if I'm counting properly. So that leaves 8 years from then till now.
Yep.
What has your opera career looked like? And then I'm really interested to hear how the pandemic affected everything, because it affected everyone in that career.
Oh,
big
yeah.
time.
Big time. All right, so let's see. I want to get this timeline right. After that, I went back to again living out of my car / my girlfriend's parents' house / my mom's basement. Still didn't really have a whole great idea of what I wanted to do, but those outreach performances I was talking about, we went to Ferguson, and I remember we started with opera at these like schools in Ferguson, like these performances. It was supposed to be like, spreading the joy of music to like these inner city, low income schools. It was like during the like height of the Ferguson Black Lives Matter movement. So it was a very important time to be there. And I remember we started with I think actually we started with some Figaro. It was Se vuol ballare, which is like not going to be their jam, and I knew it wasn't going to be. And I got slow clapped. They started slow clapping. I was like, they're slow clapping. So I stopped. I like cut us all off, and I was like, you guys don't want to hear opera, do you? Like, boo, no. I was like, all right. So I just started busting out "I Swear" by All for One. Just busted out some R&B, and they immediately ate it up. And I was like, all right. So now we're going to talk about riffs, and we're going to compare them to melismas, like in my Handel aria. And what's that? It's like the "I'll give you everything I can," like that little melisma there. I was like, anytime I do a melisma or like a melisma, I'm going to do this with my finger. I can, and then I would hop into the Messiah. And anytime I did a melisma, like in "Thus Saith the Lord," it's filled with them. I mean, the aria.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah.
That one's a little while, and I will shake. And I was like, I busted into that, and they were like, "Yeah, we got it." They were so pumped.
They got it.
And
amazing.
like, so then we went through jazz. I like threw a Sinatra piece in there. And the coolest part about all that was that Tim O'Leary was there, who was the artistic director for OTSL. Like, he got to see that. And like Tim O'Leary, he's my guy. Like, I love Tim O'Leary. He's at Washington National Opera. But that was like the beginning of my like friendship with him. So sorry, I got sidetracked. Anyways, in 2015, I wanted to do more of that, but I wanted to bring it to third world countries. So I hired Damien again to make me a whole accompaniment track to bring with me to third world countries. I brought like a Bluetooth speaker and a little CD player, and I like had that with me in my backpack. And I guess it wasn't a Bluetooth speaker. I don't even think I had those back then. So it was just me backpacking through third world like countries. I started in Moldova because my buddy was there in the Peace Corps, and he was able to get a few gigs set up for me just because he had connections through Peace Corps. I did, I think, like 4 concerts there, and then he and I and one other friend, Greg, Quinn and Greg were with me for this. We went to Vietnam, which was like crazy. To get to Vietnam from Moldova, dude, you'd never guess. There isn't a direct flight from Moldova to Vietnam. We had to go from Moldova to Moscow. We didn't have visas, and it was an 18-hour layover in Moscow, which was brutal. And then from Moscow to Abu Dhabi for 13 hours, again, no visa. And then from Abu Dhabi to Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. And we got out, it was midnight, and we didn't have a place to stay. It was like, we didn't have a hotel. We're in the middle of Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam with no idea what we're doing. So we're like flagging down like motorbike taxis and like, yo, we need to find a place to stay. That they didn't speak English. So I'm like, hotel, hostel, hotel. And they're like, oh, hostel. They're like, hop on. I hop on the back of like these motorbikes with this huge backpack. And we're buzzing through Ho Chi Minh City. And so I did a whole concert tour there, through Vietnam, up to the north, all the way up to Hanoi, then back down through to into Cambodia. I went to Siem Reap, Phnom Penh, and then into Bangkok. And I was just singing the whole time. I would take any gig I could get. And I was just like, one point we were in northern Vietnam, in Sapa, Vietnam. It's like way up north. It's gorgeous. And we hiked into like the mountains where it's just like hill tribe people. And like there were a bunch of little kids running around. They're all like naked and stuff. And so we just get off our bikes, and I go into the middle of this village, and like everyone's like shaking our hands because they never seen like big white dudes before. And like it was a profound probably experience for them too. And I just started singing. I sang like Some Enchanted Evening, and then I went into Save Ballade. I think I sang O Du Man Holde Abendstern. I was like singing like arias, and then I started singing some Sinatra. And like I had a whole audience for that. Like, and they were all people that had probably never heard anything remotely close to that ever. And so I kind of went down that route where I was like, I just want to do a lot of this outreach and just singing for anyone who might not get to experience this otherwise. And it started with Tim O'Leary having me do those programs in St. Louis.
Did that flesh out to like a formal thing, or did you just do that for a while and then come back to the States? And
didn't turn into a formal thing. After that, I came back. I had no more money because I spent it all traveling. Because again, I was still kind of a mess. And I had just gotten back from that trip, and I'm driving on the highway, and I get a phone call from Dan Novak. Do you know him?
I've heard the name, but where's he at?
He was the artistic director, I believe, at Lyric Opera Chicago.
Sure, yeah.
And yeah, I get a phone call from him, and I'm like, yo, hold on, I gotta pull over. Like, hold on. Dan Novak. I pull over, and he's like, hey, we want to fly you out in a couple days to be a finalist in the Ryan Opera Center, Young Arts Program. I was like, yeah, all right. I didn't even audition for that. Like, okay, I'll do it. So I flew out, and I did not sound good. I'll just say that. Like, a lot of my friends were like, dude, you were great, you were epic, you were so good, but I didn't get in. And then they told me I was flat, and I was like, I bet I was, because I've been like in Vietnam for the last 3 months. Like
3 months? Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's way too much time off from like keeping the opera in shape.
Yeah, man. And like I was singing and doing all that, but it's different. It's just different. Like you're roughing it. And dude, I had gotten so sick in Vietnam. I got bit by some bug. Like I went to the Coochie tunnels when I was in Ho Chi Minh City, and I woke up and I took a shower and I had purple spots all over me. So I went to the doctor. I go to the doctor, and he's like, all right, well, where have you been? I was like, I went to the Coochie tunnels. And he was like, oh, you got bit by a forest bug. And I was like, as opposed to what? A city bug? I was like, what are you talking about? What happened? And he was like, you're fine. He wrote me a prescription, hands it to me. I go to the store to pick it up, and it's Benadryl. I'm like, okay, great. I already had that.
Like, I know that. I know this one.
Right. And then a few days later, I started like, getting stomachache. I'm vomiting. And we're like traveling on like these hot trains and motorbikes. And we're flying over these like jungles and these tiny little plains. And we finally get to Hanoi, and I like got to our hotel, and I was so sick. I took my shirt off, and I was covered in just hives, red bumps. And so like we go to the Senator McCain exhibit, and I just couldn't do it. I almost passed out. So I was like, guys, I got to go back to the room. I'm not doing so good. I go back, the hotel concierge, he calls a taxi, sends me to the hospital. I go in, and the doctor does blood work. And I see the needle. They're opening it out of a nice clean bag. I'm feeling real comfortable. I'm good. We're good. She does blood work. I go into the office, and she says, you're too big for Vietnam. It's too hot here. It's just too hot. I was like, forest bugs. I'm too big for Vietnam. It's like, what's going on? And like what I got out of it was like, she says it's too hot here. So I think this red rash. I really felt like it was associated with heat. Started Googling it. It's like it's heat rash. I have heat rash. I figured that out. And so we just started staying in like AC hotels, whereas before we weren't. We were spending like $3 a night in like these crappy hostels, not doing AC. So we just started spending $5 a night, which is literally how much it cost. It was $2 more. And the heat rash went away, and I went on my merry way, and the rest of the trip was great. When I got back from the trip, though, for a few months, I had those purple spots. I got a bunch of blood work done, tests. No one ever figured out what they were. They eventually went away. Yeah.
I'm glad they went away.
Yeah. So
That's wild. Dude, before we get back to it, have you written these stories down?
no, but they're on a podcast now somewhere.
Amazing. Yeah. Because my brother's done a lot of third world traveling. He has some absolutely incredible stories from his travels.
Sure.
And I have finally convinced him to like spend some time every day and write them down in detail, because they're going to be like, it's going to be gold to look back on and just to have the fresh memories.
Now that you're mentioning that, I kept a travel journal.
Amazing.
I did keep a travel journal, and I kept everything in it, like all the receipts as I was going through the dollars and all the country that I went through. So yeah, everything's
Super
written
cool.
down. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad it's on a podcast as well.
Now it's on somebody's podcast. Yeah.
This very one.
So
actually.
like to get back to kind of like what happened in the last 8 years. So
yeah.
After that, so the audition at the Ryan Center just didn't go well. And I got real depressed from that, I'll tell you. And then I messaged Stephen Lord at the time. I was like, what do I do? And he was like, yeah, well, let's audition for the ADOS program at Juilliard. And so I got to the finals of that program, and the same, kind of similar thing happened. I didn't get in, and I just kind of started thinking like, I don't know, is this really?
Do you feel like you sang well for the Juilliard one? Because I know you were out of shape for the Ryan Center.
I think I sang most things well. The thing that happened at that audition, they had me sing, I think it was either 5 or 6 arias, which just like never happened at that point to me. Like they were like
thick audition.
Yeah, it was a big audition. I remember I had a friend who heard it backstage, and he was like, dude, they just got like a whole recital out of you. Like, yeah. They probably just didn't hear something that they were looking for. And I think I know what it was at this point, because at that time I had amazing coloratura. That was my thing. I leaned on having a really big voice and like really good, fast coloratura. That was always my niche in the opera world.
Rare combo, really.
Yeah, a big voice with coloratura. And like, so that's all, like in that audition, like I sang Sorge and Fausta, and I also sang Handel's Messiah, which are two of the same freaking aria. If you really, one's English and one's in Italian. Yeah. And they probably were like, all right. And I didn't do the Abendstern at that because it had gone poorly, and they wanted to hear the Abendstern. They asked for it when I didn't have it, and I was like, yeah, sorry, I took it out because it needs to be reworked. And I ended up singing like some Foray, I think, instead. They just didn't hear what they wanted to hear. And so I don't know. You probably know that program. It's an intense program.
It's tough to get into. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, rightfully so. I mean, I didn't get in. Like, had I worked harder on it, I definitely would have got in. I know I would have. Like, I have. There's no doubt in my mind that I would have. I wasn't really like in that headspace at that time, and so I did a bunch of auditions that year. I got in at Chautauqua. They were gonna like actually build a big program around me, and then Michigan Opera Theater offered me their like year-long young artist program, and that was at the exact same time that I got an offer from University of Hartford, because they had been following my career. They saw me like on the cover of Opera News, I guess, and from that point they started following me because I was somewhat local. And I posted a Facebook post about a voice student that I had, and they immediately messaged me, and they were like, "Hey, we have a great program here that we'd love to have you, teach at." And so I did the audition, I got it, and so I had to pick between either doing Chautauqua and Michigan Opera Theater, or starting my academia journey. And it was a hard decision, man. But I picked academia, and I said, you know what, this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna do academia, and I'm gonna take gigs in the summers and whenever I can, like in the winters, and that's what I've been doing.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense then. That fills in the gap.
Yeah. I mean, in hindsight, like, it's probably not the path most people would have taken. I think most people would have been like, yeah, we're going to ride this out and we're going to have the big opera career. But
People who usually I find people who are good enough to take the shot at a big opera career take it. Not everyone. I mean, Elizabeth Jarve
right.
is a great example. She was good enough and she was like,
Oh, yeah.
nah. And I'm
She got way deeper. She got way deeper into it, to hers than I did.
yeah,
I
she
made this. I made this decision very early. I think for most opera singers, um, but I think I was. I'm gonna be honest. I was really cocky at the time. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this singing thing or this teaching thing, and I'm gonna get tons of gigs. It's just gonna be easy. I can come and go as I please, and that's just not how it works. And as soon as I started teaching, like I'm not going to say I got blacklisted, but I stopped getting hired from Opera Theater at St. Louis. Like I stopped hearing from them, and yeah, I didn't hear from a lot of a lot of other companies I worked for either. I
interesting.
think they assumed like, yeah, Danny doesn't want to do this; he wants to teach.
And because companies can think if they're hiring someone who might go on to be the next big Met star, that looks really good for them. That looks really good for
Right?
the company. It's good for business. So if that person's no longer pursuing that journey, less incentive for them business wise,
Yep.
even if you're a great singer, which you are.
Yeah. So it made sense. They made their decision. Because I made mine, and now I teach a lot. Like I mean, at one point I had 46 students. Um, while I was also like, I mean, I have gigged a little bit here and there. Like Ricky Ian Gordon, he's a really good friend of mine. I love him. He gets me to do 27s when they pop up. I do a lot of Beethoven's ninths. I do a lot of Mozart requiems.
Yeah,
The
concert,
rest that
mostly
I know.
concert work, right?
Yep, symphonic concert. Yeah, things like that. And then 27 because not too many people know 27. He also wrote that roll for me, and it goes down to F sharp, no F2 and B flat. What's the one right below? Right below high C. B flat.
Four.
What was it? 4.
B flat
It's
4.
got B flat 4 in it. Yeah.
That is
The
an
reason
absurd range.
yeah, so he didn't originally write the B flat 4 in, but I did it in rehearsal, and the whole place loved it. They were like, "What was that?" I was like, "I don't know, what was that?" And the pianist was like, "Oh, B flat." And I was
Just
like, "Perfect, let's keep it."
a bass with a high B flat. That's absurd.
Yeah, we kept it, and actually, it was like scary because every night I was like, "Oh man, I got that B flat tonight." Like,
Yeah. I mean, if you want to fully connect it,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
nuts.
that happened. That happened not in our first production. I think it was either our second or our third where we did that. Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
So
Oh
do you
yeah,
have
man, and that whole thing was crazy. Like at some point, like we just got to talk about how unbelievable Stephanie Blythe is. Like she was
forget it, man.
unbelievable, man. It was like
Yeah.
she stepped out on stage, and before she sang a note, people were already clapping. It was one of those things. It was like before she sings, the whole place is erupting. Just it was so
that's
cool.
a star right there.
Yeah. Yep.
So do you have any desire to get back to the opera world? Are you feeling really good? And we're about to dive into everything that's been happening lately to you. But
All
do you
right.
have any desire to get back out there on the main stage?
Yeah, all the time. I
All
think
the
about it
time.
all the time, dude. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm almost like that football player that didn't pursue like the NFL. Like he had that dream and then he just didn't do it. And then for the rest of his life, he's like, what would have happened? You know what I mean? I deal with that daily.
Okay.
Yeah. Daily,
Okay.
of course. But
Okay,
like,
well,
I'll tell you, every time I sing, I mean, I'm not necessarily singing in huge places, but every time I sing, like when it's done, I mean, I have a big crowd around me, and they all want to know, like, well, who are you? Like, why aren't you singing at the Met? I hear that the most. Why aren't you singing at the Met? I always hear that, and it honestly, like, I'm embarrassed because how do I answer that question without making myself look like a fool? You know what I mean?
yeah. And
So,
man,
yeah.
getting to the Met is, for most people, it's a journey, and it's it goes so far beyond being a great singer too. It's
Yeah.
connections
You
and
have to be perfect. I mean, you have to be so good from the get-go, plus you have to be so motivated and driven throughout the whole process. You can't take
Yep.
a little break where you're like, yeah, I don't know if I want this, right?
It has to be
Like
the one
there's
thing. It has to be your one thing that
Mhm,
you're getting after.
for sure. And
Which is
I'll tell you one thing, I have way too many things.
well, dude, yeah, I think we're very similar in that way, which
Sure,
is why I want to get behind the scenes of my life after this chat's over, because I'm
sure.
really interested about bounce some ideas off you. Let's dive into you going absolutely astronomical on Instagram lately for the
Yeah,
reels. Dude, I don't know if I've ever seen a blow up this significant. And the great thing is, like, I admire your singing so much. I've always thought you are just so talented in so many genres. And it's like, yay, someone who's really talented is blowing up. This is awesome that more people are hearing you. I mean, what
sure.
is it like to go? I mean, you said, what was it, 4 or 6 months ago? You had like, you said your goal for the summer was to get 10,000 followers, and now you're at over 500,000. Mostly because
Yeah,
of the Valhalla calling that's the one that's gone as like to the moon, right?
yeah. That was that was a month ago. See, 4 months ago, I think it was June. Is that 4 months ago now? Yeah. So last June, it
Three,
was.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. So all right, I had 5,000 at that point followers, and that had taken me, years to, those are people that I either know or pass along the way, like organically 5,000 followers. Um, so I was like, because I had already blown up on TikTok, but I saw a lot of value on Instagram that I didn't think I was going to get from TikTok. And so I was like, how the heck do I get this going? And so I actually, ebucks 19,
Yep.
Nelson, I emailed him and asked him some advice. And he was saying, dude, you got to like get rid of your watermarks, your TikTok watermarks. And like that was his big advice to me. It was like when you're posting stuff, they got TikTok watermarks. And I think it was him that said that. I was picking everyone's brain. That's one thing about me. I'm a sponge. I pick everyone's brains. I reach out to everyone. If I message you, like it's because I'm legitimately trying to pick your brain and gain a relationship there. I
I
love
think
it.
that's a really great way to be open like that. And like
Sure.
being open for because some people really try to go through life and not get help. But like we all need help and we all need guidance.
Yeah.
So it's really great to be that way, to be willing to absorb knowledge from other people.
Yeah, man. What I've gained from Bobby, from Nelson, from Davide, um, from Eric Holloway, all those guys, like all those bases, even David Michael Frank, he's another one that I've learned a ton from. Um, I've just been a sponge, and so what I gathered was I was like, I'm going to take this watermark off. I have lots of content from TikTok that had gone viral, lots of it, and so I said I'm gonna post one video a day this week, and I'm gonna get rid of that watermark. And so I posted it, and I never had a video get like 40,000 views or something, and I was really excited. I was like, nice, 40,000 views. That's crazy on here for me. Um, so then I posted another one tomorrow, and I did a little better. And then I posted another one the next day, and I did a little better. And I wasn't pulling out all the stops yet. I wasn't posting the real good ones from TikTok yet. I waited for a little more following. And then Serena Bell, I don't know if you follow her. She posted In the End by Linkin Park. I did a duet with her, and that did really well. That got like 500,000 views or something. And I was like, all right, we're on to something. So then I started pulling out all the stops. I posted, the Megan Trainor song, the Gucci song. What is it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Made you look. I posted that, which it got 9 million views on TikTok, and that was like the first one that did well on Instagram. I think it got like maybe 1 million, and then I posted, the Sam Smith Unholy one that I think also got 1 million or something. And then, but the one that really took off was it was a reaction video that Queen of Vikings did of me singing that I Don't Want to Know song. I can't remember the title of it. It has like a double low D in it. And her reaction, I think, is actually what because it was my video next to her reaction, which isn't how she formatted it. Like I reformatted, I put my video in with it, and her reacting to me while you could see me sing, I think was what made it so funny and appealing. And that skyrocketed to 2 million. And then what I did was I actually made all those videos prior. I made them private and I reposted them because I looked at the analytics and it said that only like 5,000 followers had seen this. And I have all these new followers now. So I was like, so these guys haven't seen this. So I reposted them and they took off. All of them. They all took off. And so then I just went back to the routine, posting my old TikToks and then sprinkling in some new ones. Like I did like a Paul Bunyan one that was kind of trending, and and I learned how to use my DAW a little better. I started throwing in more harmonies. I learned how to actually do a little bit of the EQ. 'Cause, I've been picking brains with that too. And yeah, so it just kind of took off because of that, really. It's been a great outlet for me because it gets me gets me to use all the different voices that I love. Like I've been doing the ice bath singing videos, and those have been doing really well. Like, and my thing with the ice bath is I like to hit all the different genres in there. You know, the yodeling, the country. I did like a Danny Boy, like kind of a classical version of Danny Boy. And so yeah, I mean that's really that's what's been working for me.
Does it feel real to you? Because sometimes the big numbers on Instagram can be really numbing, and it's like, what is 3 million people even like? It's too big for the human brain to really understand. That was always something I noticed. Like I didn't do TikTok very often. I had a couple videos that did well. I've had a few videos do well on Instagram, and you see like million pop up, and you're like, I can't really like grasp how many people that is. So does it feel like you have over half a million people following your Instagram now, and TikTok I think is similar. What
I
does that
mean,
feel like? Does it feel like you have half a million people watching you, or does it feel no different than when you had 5,000?
I just say it doesn't feel any different. Like when I hit and post, it don't feel different, but it's mind boggling. I mean, I don't even know what 500,000 people looks like. Like the Valhalla calling video, but because I posted that twice too in different formats, that has over, I think, 25 million views now. And it's like, how do I even picture that? Like Serena Bell just messaged me recently and was like, dude, between our Valhalla calling like collab videos, we have over 50 million views on those. I was like, I can't fathom that. I mean, what does that look like?
It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, like the most people I've ever seen, I think, is at Gillette Stadium. I think that what do they hold like 60,000?
Yeah, a
Yeah, no,
thousand times that many people.
it's nuts. It's nuts. But I love it, man. I love my followers. I'm hoping to work with them. Like, I am working with them. I'm working with them, vocally. Like I'm doing instruction with them, and I absolutely love that. And yeah, it's been kind of mind-boggling. Yeah,
Do you see yourself always continuing to teach, even if
definitely,
even if all
definitely.
these things go even more astronomical, which they will, I assume?
100%. I love teaching. I love it. I
Awesome.
love seeing the light bulb turn on. I love passing on the knowledge. I told you, I was my own voice teacher growing up. My philosophy is this, because in the voice lesson, I think a lot of us, and you might feel the same way, we feel like we're so good in the voice lesson. We're getting it. We really get it. And then what happens when we leave? We're like, oh man, I wish my voice teacher was here. And my philosophy on this has been this: if I teach my students in that normal voice teacher way, they're going to feel that way. They do feel that way. And I've slightly been changing it, and I've been teaching them more like of my approach. I teach them like the bag of tricks in a little bit of a different way, and they're kind of turning into their own voice teacher, and they're listening to each other sing, and they have like their own little hive mind going there, and they're able to see like, okay, so when he's talking about posture, breathing, vowels, consonants, like he's talking about that because they can hear it's like masterclass type stuff. And I've noticed that if I teach them the tools they need, they come out of it as like almost their own voice teacher. They're problem solving. So when they're at home and they're always messaging me and they're like, yeah, so like this is what it sounded like. I tried this and it sounded like this. You know what I mean? And now am I on the right? It's like, yeah, that's it. You're your own voice teacher. You just did it. You just did it. You didn't need me. You didn't even need me for that, right? And that's my goal with teaching. Like, it's so much fun watching the light bulb turn off, and I want to do that with more people. Like I wish I could do that for all 500,000 of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I love seeing the light bulb turn on, and I feel like because I taught myself so much of this, and I've come up with so many of my own exercises and my own warm ups, and when students come in, like they all have their own different warm ups. You know what I mean? Like like I love that. It's creative. It's very creative. It fills that creative outlet. With my dog Wyatt, like I was thinking with that, it was like if I can communicate with my dog, I could communicate with anyone. And I mean, have you seen some of the videos of him? He's incredible. He's
No, I
unbelievable.
haven't. I need to check
Wyatt.
that out.
We'll get him over here. Come here, bud. Let's see. Can you see him on screen?
Yes. Oh, golden.
Ready, Wyatt? You sit pretty.
Oh my.
Can you shake? You spin? Sit. Back up. Get back. Get back.
Oh my
back.
gosh.
Let's see. Hold on. Which one's it? Stay. Go around. Go around. Go around. You take a bow. Bring. Bring. Hold. Bring. Give. Sit. Catch.
Dude, are you kidding me? That is amazing. So is that just like one tiny step at a time?
Yeah, man.
Getting
It's
to, oh my gosh.
all right. So it's literally like singing. Think of it this way: it's one obstacle with a tactic to fixing it, one step at a time. Like with singing, it's usually related to breathing, posture, space, which I break down with vowels and consonants. You know, a lot of people don't break it down that way. You know, the tongue and all that. But usually, when there's an issue, assuming you have the right repertoire, like you can problem solve when you know those things. And with training a dog, it's the exact same way. Like when he can't catch the treat off his nose, because a lot of people have a tough time with that, I just problem solved it. I was like, okay, he can balance it and he can catch a treat when I throw it. So I'm going to balance one on his nose and I'm going to take another one, I'm going to toss it to him and he's going to catch it. And what would happen was he would toss the one off his nose and catch the one that I caught. So then I took out the one that I'm tossing and I just pretended to toss. And then he saw the one come off his nose and he caught that one. And I was like, he's got it. Like we just broke it down. We broke it down like that. You know, that was just an obstacle and then a tactic to fixing that obstacle. And I think that it's similar with teaching people. Like, I mean, with a dog, the reward is the treat. With people, the reward, you know, it's getting better at, you know, the high note or the riff or, you know, the resonance and the low notes, right?
Yeah. 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 My philosophy there has always been you do have to become your own teacher, just like you're saying, because you know, in an average week, even in a program, you're going to have 1 hour with your voice teacher. And most of the other hours of your training are going to be maybe with a coach, but more than likely most of your training will be alone. And if you can't figure out how to improve on your own in that setting, you just won't advance the ball fast enough.
Yeah, man. And
It'll
like
be
when you
okay.
have like, I mean, and if you're studying from someone who really knows what they're doing, like you have such an advantage. Like my voice teacher at NEC, Michael Marat, was incredible. And he was amazing too, because he used to let me go on his lunch break. He'd be like, yeah, come to my lunch and, you know, I'll warm you up. And he taught me so much. Like, but he was teaching me in a way that was like, yeah, go home and work, and this is what you're gonna do. Like, he really did kind of teach that way. Like, yeah. So we're lucky. We're lucky. We had like good ones, clearly.
Yeah.
They set us up real well.
Big time.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm sure you have a few conductors that you met that you worked with that changed the game for you. Like my undergraduate conductor, Dr. Perkins, he was like that for me. My coach back then. Like I'm sure you have all the same things for you.
Oh yeah,
What
absolutely.
we got to do is we got to ball that up and we got to take it home. We got to figure out how to problem solve with it, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
So what does your vocal training look like? Are you actively practicing things day to day, working on stuff? Okay, tell me about
Yeah,
that.
I'm trying to keep getting better at these subharmonics.
Yeah, when did you start learning
Yep.
those? Because it seems like I mean, at least the quality that you get in the recordings are phenomenal.
Yeah, they're inconsistent though.
I'm
You
the
know how it
same
is.
way. I'm the exact
Yeah,
same
there's
way.
days where they're absolutely phenomenal, and then there's days where they're not, and I'm trying to figure out why. Like,
Yeah, it's
what did I
tricky.
eat last night? What did I do last night? What did I do the day before? What am I singing that's doing this? You know, I think a lot of it is the rep that I sang. When I was doing Beethoven's Ninths, I lost them.
Yeah,
They were gone. And for you, because you gig so much, you're going from like, and you're in rehearsals a lot, and like, I could imagine for you, it's even harder to get down there because they don't seem to work for me when I'm doing
no,
gigs.
man. I rarely work on techniques outside of opera.
Yeah,
I just do them for bass gang recordings, but
yeah, I'm
that's
working
pretty much it.
on subs, rock, kind of like using the false folds a little bit.
Awesome.
Those don't tickle my throat like a lot of people, but I haven't found the tone that I want to put out there yet. But we're getting
I've also
there.
been working a little, like that kind of shit. I've been doing that a little more lately just to kind of figure out that you really can like just target the false folds and the true folds don't really take any heat from it, which is amazing. So I'm just because I love that kind of singing and I want to learn like the gritty belting and all that stuff, but it's really tough when you have a tight opera schedule.
Sure.
So I'm just trying to do a little bit every day and just like start building that in.
Dude, you've got so much going on. You've got the YouTube channel, like you're still you make content. You just did the Stairwell album on Spotify, plus you're balancing a full-blown opera career.
Bro, it's busy.
You're a savage, bro. I love it. Yeah. What are you at now on YouTube?
I think 117.
Yeah, you just got another 17,000 like that. Like it was like you just had a
Yeah,
hundred.
it's moving, and I'm really enjoying this interview series. I think that's going to be a key to a lot of growth in the coming years. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
I listen to them. I love listening to your podcast.
I think
Yeah,
they're pretty. I think they're pretty solid.
I haven't listened to all of them, but I've listened to Jeff Castellucci, Charismatic Voice, Melinda, Lauren Paley,
Amazing.
um, the contra bass or
Oh, Glenn
octave bass,
Miller. Good
Glenn
Lord,
Miller, um,
that guy.
amongst I think some older ones too. Yeah, and then
It's
where I got introduced to your podcast when you reacted to Hoist the Colors. And like
yeah,
you threw me so much praise, man. I was like, "Yo, I like him."
bro. You were ripping the operatic high notes in there. That was
I
nuts.
know, I know, man. So yeah, so yeah, I would say like as far as like, getting into the opera and like where I'm at now, that balance, finding that balance. I don't really mind the balance I have now. It's really cool. I gig. I still gig. I still get to do some sweet gigs. Beethoven's Nine is awesome,
It's
and like
badass. Yeah.
I'm like, I feel really confident with that piece. Like, I feel real good about it. I think I could do that around the world if that opportunity presented itself, and I could do it comfortably. Like, I wouldn't be super stressed about that. Um, like I told you when I was younger, I used to work on boilers. Like, I worked on boilers when I was in like ninth grade through high school into college. Like when I say work on boilers, like we were opening these boilers and they were massive. I had to punch the tubes with like this long rod with a brush on it, and when you pull it out, just soot just covers you up. And it's like 300-degree boiler because we had to heat it up for the soot to loosen up. And like I used to do that every day over the summer, and there were some days where I had to do it before school, and I'd be like late for school. Like I showed up for football practice once, I was covered in like black soot. It was like this craziness, and like my way of looking at it is like, hey man, if I'm not like, I love that job, but as long as like, if I'm that's not, this isn't so bad. It's like I'm not covered in 300-degree soot right now. You know,
Yeah.
like my stepdad did that. He worked on boilers. That's how I got into it. He just retired. You know, he's deep into his 60s. I think he's like 65 or something. It's like, man, he worked. He worked, and my
Yeah.
dad too. My dad, auto body, he worked. Like, you know, so like this is I'm really blessed to be able to do what I'm doing.
It can be pretty cushy. What is how much time do you spend on making content? And I know you've recently, well, I don't know if you made it recently, but I know you're trying to pull more people to YouTube. So you do a lot of short form content for the reels. I'm interested to know how much time you spend there, and then what your plans for the YouTube channel are.
Yeah, so making content for TikTok slash Instagram, I'm probably putting. That's a tough one because it's not like regimented. I don't have like a schedule that I'm putting it into. I'm kind of just doing it.
You like hear a song you like and that you want to make a mini cover of essentially, and then you
Yeah.
dive in.
And a lot of times what I do is I just look up and see who's already started one, and I do edit and I add layers to it.
Yeah.
I really like doing that because it's been working for me, but I also love the whole collaboration aspect of it. Also, if it does really well on my channel, every once in a while it helps those people too, like especially if they're not a real big channel. I really like doing that. But yeah, typically I'll have a song in my head and I'll just go to TikTok and I'll find who's already done it, and then I'll be like, all right, I'll throw a bass line on that, or maybe it's one that like Davide or eBucks have already done too that did well, and I'll just throw my own spin on it. And usually I spend like maybe a half hour to an hour on those, kind of mixing and getting it right, playing with it. I'm probably spending more time on that now because I've been having fun with Logic and like learning reverb, how like kind of how it works,
Yeah.
learning. Bobby was just telling me about buses
Mm-hmm.
last night, and I was like, I don't know, dude, I don't know how to use those. And he was like, yeah, just YouTube it. I'm like, all right, I'll look into that.
Yeah, that's a level up for sure.
Yeah, I'm not at that level. I'm at the level where I record something and I use the pre-made voice, like reverb that they have on there. I specifically like the one that's titled Natural Voice. That's my go-to. And then I go up and I get I hit the mix button and I get, what is it called? I don't know, the little dots that you can kind of play with, and you can get like the reverb to turn up here, or you can turn it down over here. It's like
Yeah.
those little dots.
Oh,
Kind of pop
automation. Automation. Yeah.
automation. I've been playing with just the automation, so I don't know how to like isolate different frequencies and get them
Okay.
I don't know how to do any of that. I got to YouTube all that. So
Yeah.
I have a lot to learn about that. Yeah.
I mean, whatever you're doing is working though.
Sure. Sometimes I listen to a song on Spotify though, and it's like that's just humming. They're just like humming, and I'm like, how the heck did they get that like that? Like the reverb and the echo sounds good. I try to do it, and it sounds terrible. I'm like,
Dude,
oh god, no.
for the Bass Gang's latest stuff, we have like one of like maybe the best like acapella mixer in the world. His name's Ed Boyer. He does stuff
Oh
for
yeah,
all
I've
the
heard
big
of them.
group. Heard of Ed Boyer?
Mhm.
We
Yeah,
just got our first mix for Arabian Nights. I can't even express to you the fucking like it started and I just had full body chills and I was like, what the fuck is happening? This is the
oh, that's
craziest thing I've ever heard in
awesome.
my life. And so it's like it's an amazing arrangement that Marwan did. And obviously it's cool because we get to it's us, you know. And then it's just like I can't even, you can tell I'm like completely fumbling my words. I can't even express how cool it is. This
Yeah,
they'll all be out by the time this interview comes out, man. But just like God, as soon as this EP comes out, man, throw on some nice headphones and just like
yeah,
bask in
I will. Oh, I will, man.
Ed Boyer's mixing glory.
I just made my first demo for Bobby because we're doing a big collaboration with a lot of
Awesome.
creators. And he was like, "Yeah, so you're gonna do the demo." And I was like, "Oh," he just kind of tossed it out there. I'm like, "Oh, a whole demo." I did my first demo for him. I spent a whole day, like 4 hours out of the day, I'd say, half a day, working on it. I listened to it. I didn't like the vibrato, so then I tossed it. I redid it, started over, and got rid of all that, and just did like the straight tone. Got real picky about what I wanted. And I was so scared. I sent it over to him. I was like, I've never done a demo. What if Bobby doesn't like it? I got that imposter syndrome thing back.
Mm-hmm.
And he listened to it over a Zoom call. And afterwards, I was like, yeah, so is it okay? And he's like, okay, dude, this is great. He's like, this is fantastic. And I was like, is he just saying that? And then I saw him yesterday at Melinda's concert. I was like, hey, be honest. How was that demo? And he was like, that was a phenomenal demo, dude. Like, you crushed it. I was like, nice. Like,
That's
hell yeah,
sick.
let's go.
That's so sick.
Like that's what I needed. I need that. I need that confidence right now with Logic for sure.
100%. Amazing, dude. Okay, let's bounce over to fitness for a bit. What's your current fitness routine look like? Are you lifting often? Are you paying attention to diet, nutrition? What's the deal there?
All right, this is how my day starts. I get up, I hop in the ice bath for 4 minutes. I get on the
Phenomenal.
bike. I get on the bike for 20, the spin bike. So immediately post ice bath. After my fasted cardio, I eat. I do a low carb diet because I just seem to function best that way. I've tried all diets, but I've been doing low carb since November, and I've mentally been great. Like it's been helping me, so I'm sticking to that. And then I typically will work on the computer on whatever it is I have to work on, whether it's through teaching, content, whatever. And then I go to the gym for 2 hours, weightlifting, weight training. And I break that up into splits. It's on a rotating schedule. I'll do shoulders one day. I'll do back another day, bench day or chest, but I call it bench day.
Mm-hmm.
And then leg day. And they rotate. They're just ever rotating. I used to be like really competitive with powerlifting. I'm not anymore because I have a herniated disc and a bulging disc from my competitive lifting days. So I'm not doing that anymore. I still bench fairly heavy. The heavy thing that I do is my overhead press because I got really strong shoulders.
Okay.
Like last week I was doing 8 sets of 3 with like 325, like in a pin press.
325.
Yeah, pin press shoulder press is my favorite. So like I set the pins, you set the depth that you want to go down to because I don't want to go too low because it's not good for the shoulder.
Yeah.
I kind of set it right around, it's a little higher. That's like right around here. They hit it, I pause, and I go up. I was doing, I usually like to go heavy on that.
That's an absurd amount of weight for shoulders.
Oh yeah, dude, we're rocking the shoulder. So
Yeah. No,
that's definitely my wheelhouse.
I noticed.
That's my wheelhouse is definitely shoulders.
Death Star delts. I love it.
Right. Yep. So yeah, that's that. And then I do the sauna for 1 hour twice a week.
Okay.
And I do those back-to-back days. Typically it's Tuesdays, Wednesdays, before bed. It's
Okay.
it's a nice wind down. You don't want to do that every day, for like hormonal reasons. But if you're really trying to balance a good hormone profile, which is very important to me as I get older,
Yeah.
and I don't want to go on any like medications
TRT kind of
I don't
shit.
want to ever have to worry about that stuff. And if you do ice bath and then work out, it boosts well, I don't even know if it boosts them, but it regulates them. It gets to like healthy level. And then obviously weightlifting does, and then sauna does, but supposedly only if you do it in those types of increments. Like if I did that every night, eventually it would lose its potency, I guess. I mean, it's been
Yeah.
working. I love it. I've lost about 70 pounds since November. And
Phenomenal.
a
Yeah,
lot of it's
you
probably
definitely
muscle.
look leaner. Definitely look like you've leaned up.
Oh,
That's awesome.
thanks. A lot of it's muscle. I'm definitely not as jacked, but I don't really need to be. It's like, who cares?
Totally feel you.
It's fine.
Different
Yeah.
priorities.
So yeah, it's all everything's strategic though. Everything again, it goes back to everything. There's an obstacle, there's a tactic for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you have the
What
ice
about
bath
you?
and sauna in your house?
No. Well, I have an ice bath here. I built one
Okay.
out
Okay.
of a. So yeah, you've probably seen it on Instagram. It's So I found a 6-foot chest freezer on Marketplace, and I used a water weld on all the seams, and I got it completely watertight. And I bought a water filter for it and a self like chlorinating unit thing. And I have it set to a timer so the freezer turns on 2 to 4 hours a day, depending on how hot it's going to be.
Okay.
And the freezer creates the ice along the walls, kind of the freezer. And so before I get in, I break up the ice. Yeah,
Amazing. That's so cool. That's
yeah.
so cool,
It's like
man.
full send, man. You got to full send that stuff.
Yeah, I would love to. I'd love that because I'll do a really cold shower, but it's not the same
Mhm.
as an ice bath.
It all starts with just buying bags of ice and tossing them in the
Yeah.
bathtub.
Yeah,
Buy a
exactly.
couple bags and try it out.
My routine nowadays, it used to be really intense. There was a time when it was really, really intense. Now it's the whole summer I was rehabbing a shoulder, so I was doing like all body weight stuff. Amazing what you can maintain just doing body weight. Actually, that was like really eye-opening for me. Now I'm back to just doing for the moment because I'm about to do a really long, slow bulk. I want to try to
Okay.
put on kind of as much muscle as I can without becoming a fat ass over the next like 9 months or so, 8 or 9 months. So we'll see what happens there. So I'm in like a slight caloric surplus every day, and I'll do 2 days lifting, 1 day off. I found out
Okay.
that more rest time is really good for me. Really helps the growth. I noticed that also this past summer. So I'll do upper body day, lower body day, and then day off for now. Once my body kind of readjust to lifting because I'm kind of just now getting back into lifting after the summer, like resistance training. I'll probably shift to a little more specific split, like push pull legs at least, or maybe even just like really smash like each body part once per week, maybe
Hmm.
something like that, and just like experiment and like see what works best. And then
Okay.
diet, I always eat healthily, a lot of whole foods, lean meats. And then I just aim right now. I'm just aiming for like a 200 to 300 calorie caloric surplus each day. That's it. We're gonna see what
Nice.
happens.
Yeah. You seem pretty dialed.
It's pretty dialed,
Yeah. Pretty dialed.
which is
That's
good.
nice. You're more dialed on diet than I am. I'm the lazy diet. I just say, yeah, low carb. It's just easy. I don't have to worry about a whole
Well,
lot. As long as there's not a lot of carbs in it, I'll eat it.
I
Yeah.
mean, you got to do what works for you. And the other thing is like I will relax the diet if I'm going out with people. Like
Sure. You can
not
do
gonna
that.
hold. Yeah,
That's the thing that I can't
social
do.
eating, social drinking.
That's what I can't do because low carb is tough when you go out to eat. So I'm
Yeah.
always getting chicken Caesar salad with no croutons pretty much every time I go out. Like every time. Like I met Johnny from the Wellerman last month. That's what I
Are you
ordered.
guys like the same size? Because he's a big dude too.
Yeah. I mean, I
You're
think
more
I'm a little.
built. You're more built like muscular wise.
I'm thicker. Yeah, I'm thicker. We're both tall. I think give or take an inch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so fun. I keep running into all these people in like this world that are like Tommy P is 6'6" at least. He says he's 6'6". I think he's taller.
Yeah.
Bobby's like 6'1". Marwan's like
Mhm.
6 feet. You're super tall. Johnny's super tall. Luke Taylor's
Yeah.
super tall. Like we're all these fucking huge people. Like there's huge people in the
Definitely.
opera world too. I'm
I
like a little
thought,
bit.
I thought Avi Kaplan was really tall in his videos. I was like, yo, I think he's tall. And then when I went there to sing with him, I was like, oh, all right. He's not like one of them crazy tall dudes. Because you just assume with a deep, 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 deep voice,
No, he's not.
which
He's like pretty average height, right?
I didn't. I mean, yeah, sure, but like it's like that Josh Turner effect because I had the same thing with him where I thought Josh Turner was going to be this big dude, and then I saw like pictures of him and I was like, oh, all right,
Yeah.
he's kind of yeah, he's got a nice normal look to him that I'm always like wicked envious of, to be honest.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm only 5'9". I mean, I'm way smaller than all you guys. I'm just like a little muscle
sure.
badger standing next
If I'm
to
going to be
standing
completely
next to
honest, I have no clue how tall, who's taller once it gets to like a certain height. Because I know Bobby's tall, but then like once you get below like 5'10" or something, I lose sight of it. I don't even, because I'm looking from a different angle. And I know
It's-
those people who are sometimes though. I see someone who's way taller than me, and I'm like, whoa, like wow,
Tommy
dude.
is Tommy is shockingly tall because he says he's 6'6", but I think he's taller, and he wears his hair a certain way where it's like a solid 2 inches above. So he's
Yeah,
just like what the hell? I don't know if you saw the
yeah,
pictures from us in Burnout, but
I
he
did.
just towers over. He
My
towers over Bobby.
first, my first thought when I saw those photos was, how tall is he?
Exactly. Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
I look fucking
No, yeah,
tiny, and
that's
I'm like,
funny.
I'm a little shorter than the average American, but I'm not as tiny as I look in some of those pictures.
Yeah. Do you have any siblings?
I do. I have one full blood brother, who's 34, and two younger half sisters.
And are they roughly in your height range?
Um, my brother's I think about 6 feet, so
Okay.
he's got me by a few inches, and
Hmm.
I'm taller than my sisters, but they're like pretty average height.
Yeah, I have like well, I have one brother and then there's 11 grandchildren, so there's like 11 cousins. And I have everyone beat by quite a bit in height, definitely
Mm.
in size. Um, like you'd think like we're all Vikings. We're really not. Like I mean I'm the Viking. And my brother's I think he's like 6 foot. I think he's 6 feet tall. I think he is, yeah.
Yeah,
And then my dad's like 5'11". But yeah, I mean my dad's his side is the Viking side. And there's not a whole lot of Vikings over there. That's the
interesting.
Brevik side. Yeah.
Interesting.
My mom's side
Um,
is they're
I
Irish.
want to I want to wind it back again. I just want to hear a little bit more about your experience with Avi and getting to sing with
Oh yeah.
him. So
Dude,
that's so cool.
that was mind-boggling. So
Yeah,
I honestly I haven't been following Obvi as long as you guys have. I didn't know he was the Pentatonics bass when I first found him on
amazing.
TikTok.
That's amazing.
I just knew he was a guy that was doing really well with his music on TikTok. I found his music first and I loved it. And I was like, yo, this guy
His voice
is
is amazing.
his it's not just his voice, man. It's like it's everything. He encompasses what I love about music.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I knew that from the get go. And I heard I binged his albums, and I would listen to him over and over again at the gym, like all of them. I really got into Avi. And then when he posted that he was coming to Boston, I was like, I remember I talked to my wife that night, and I said, Jen, Avi Kaplan's coming to Boston. I'm gonna duet him. He's gonna notice, and I'm gonna meet him backstage. That's what I told her. I'm gonna meet him backstage. Trust me, you watch. It's gonna happen, right? And so that night I duetted him. Like I started working on it that night, and then I kind of worked on it a little bit, a couple days. It was one of the first duets I put some work into. Posted it. Right when I posted it, he liked it, and then I got a notification that he's following me, and then I got a notification he put a comment on it, and I immediately showed Jen. I was like, look at it, and in the comments, like I had posted, I'm going to his show, and he liked it. He's like, I'll see you there, brother, or something like that. And then I was in a lesson, and my student was like looking through his backpack or something, and bad habit, but I was on my phone when he was like doing that. Just second nature was like on there, and I was like, ooh, I got a private message from Avi Kaplan. I gotta read it. So I read it, and it was like he says something like, dude, I loved your audition, or I loved your duet. I didn't realize it was an audition. He had like an audition thing going to sing with him. And he was like, so here's the deal. Like, I kind of had like this audition thing where people were going to come sing with me, but I already picked someone. So would you be willing to sing with one other person? Like, would you come on? And I was like, yeah, it's a no brainer. I'll come. I mean, I'm going to be there anyways. I already have a ticket at that point. So yeah, he invited me like over TikTok Messenger. I showed up. I met Bobby there actually. I got there a little before Bobby, and we're at the theater. It's the Sinclair in Cambridge, Massachusetts, just outside of Boston. I got there at 3 for like a 10 p.m. show because we were going to do sound check. And dude, there were already a ton of people waiting. like waiting to see Avi, like on the steps of the Sinclair, and they were total groupies. They had signs, and as soon as I pulled up, I got a great parking spot, which is rare in Cambridge. Parked the car. They all see me getting out of my car, and they're like, "That's him. That's the guy." And I'm like, "Oh no! Like, well, these people know me. Like, wow, this is kind of cool." And they come over like, "You're the guy that won that competition." I was like, "Yeah, I guess." Like, yeah. And I got a private message from Avi. It was like, because I can't go into the theater, all these people there. It was like a ton of people. And he's like, "Yeah, you're gonna go into the kitchen next door. We're gonna have like a security guard like escort you in or something." Like we had to walk through like this kitchen. Me and Bobby and Jay, Bobby's girlfriend. We all went through the kitchen and in the back, and we met Avi. And pretty much what we did was we just jammed in a bathroom outside the green room, real quick. We made up our harmonies real quick, and like when I was in the green room, like singing with him. Like that was what felt surreal. Like you talk about like the 500K. It's like that moment felt surreal. Like I was like, I'm in a bathroom right now, singing with like this superstar that has like groupies, and this just happened kind of overnight. Like this is crazy. Wow, pinch me. Like this was crazy. Luckily, I've had a lot of performance experience, so like the nerves didn't really get to me. But like had I not, that might have been a lot for me. That might have been really hard, really hard on me. But I didn't have a lot of performance experience.
No kidding.
And then we went out, we did our sound check. My issue with it was I was a little too loud. So he had me like step way off the mic, for blending purposes, just because I'm a little loud, and we were sharing a mic. That was like my issue with it, and I'm not used to mics, so trying to like lean forward on the quieter spots, then lean back. That was kind of a learning curve with the sound check, but. Yeah, man, it was a great experience. He's super nice. The way he left it, which made me really happy. I was like, Avi, this was so great. Like, I hope someday our paths cross again. He's like, I have no doubt they will. I was like, oh, that's
Nice.
great.
Nice.
I hope you mean that, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Very cool, man. Very cool. All right, we're gonna dive into just a few questions from Patreon, and then we'll wrap it up, and then I'm gonna talk to you about my life.
Yeah. Sounds good.
All right. So first question, this is obvious. Are the two of you ever likely going to collab, and would it be musical or fitness?
Oh,
I say both.
both. We're going to make a collab. It's going to be a gym song. It's going to be something you can jam out at the gym while you're smashing PRs. And our video is going to be us smashing PRs.
We're going to have a really goofy gym music video to go along with it. Yep. It's going to be obnoxiously bassy and operatic 100%. At the same time.
Yep.
Okay. This is from Emmanuel. This is the second question, and he's curious about your favorite opera singers growing up. I'd kind of be more interested to hear them, once you kind of got into opera, who were the basses you were listening to?
Yeah, so I mean, growing up, Pavarotti. But then once I started getting into, and that was just because that was the one I knew. Yeah, and I would also throw Josh Groban in there too, which is like
right, as if they're the same.
Right.
I did the same thing. Yeah.
Right. But Cheryl Milnes, Bryn Terfel, Greer Grimsley.
Oh my God, yeah.
Samuel Ramey.
My king.
Yep, Robert Merrill. And those are like the baritones and the low voice.
Yeah. Do you ever listen to Siepi? Cesare Siepi?
Yep. Yeah. And I should also mention Dmitry Fortakovsky.
Yeah.
Him too.
So you've always labeled this is somewhat related to the question, not really. You always labeled bass baritone, I guess because you have really great high notes, but you're very much a natural bass. I mean, like you could sing probably all the profundo rep in opera. It sounds like
I could, but it depends on what I'm doing after. Because I sing like Si Può, which is like more dramatic-y, like in the baritone.
Dramatic baritone, yeah.
Yeah, it's it would be tough to sing Si Può or something in that tessitura after singing like a Zarastro or something really bassy.
Yeah, but you could. So, I mean, you would sing a great Zarastro though.
Sure. Yeah. I probably. You're right. Definitely.
I think. I mean, it sounds like you have really strong, resonant, low chest notes from everything I've heard.
Yeah, but sometimes I think I get tired down there if I'm down there for too long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, that's always been a question mark for me because like if you look at my aria package, I've got like Aleko's Cavatina on there.
Yeah.
I've got Sequo on there, right? Those are two different voice types.
Yeah, baritone leaning for sure.
Well, like
Sequo,
Electro's,
definitely. That's like Verdi baritone rap.
which one?
Sequo.
Yeah, but Aleko's like bassy. I mean, it doesn't go very high at all. I think
Yeah, the
the
Cavatine,
highest
it's C to F. A lot of bass baritones sing it. Not very many bassists sing it, but a lot of bass baritones sing it.
Okay. All right.
That one?
There's not an F in Aleko's Cavatina though.
Just for a hot second. You're
right.
Yeah,
that is an F. All right.
Just
Sorry.
for a second.
You're right. There is an F in there. Good call. So yeah, bass baritone, and then like every once in a while I can pop up to an A flat.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's the Sequo high note, right? A flat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And the best ever at that was Charlemagne's.
Dude, he had crazy high notes.
Yeah.
Crazy high notes. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. This is question number 3. Is there an opera you really want to do but haven't? If so, which one and why? I'm sure there are some of those big dramatic roles that you have to wait till you're 53 to do.
Yeah. Do I really want to do them? Yeah.
I don't know if you want to do. Yeah, that's a good question, actually.
Yeah, like the Greer Grimsley roles, you know,
Like
Wotan.
Wotan.
Yeah, man.
You would make a great Wotan. You would make a great Wotan.
Yeah, I heard that, you know, ever since I got really big and Viking-y looking. Yeah.
Yes, and if you have a loud voice, I mean, you need to have a shockingly loud voice.
I would
to
say
sing that role.
I would say for me, for my personality, Leporello.
Oh, go to Leporello. I'm covering that here at Arizona in the spring. I'm doing Mazzetto and covering Leporello.
Yeah, that's a great role. Yep.
Yeah. Giovanni's more suited for me just based on like how I look and how I sound. But like that role is full of great shows. That's just a great show.
Yeah.
Giovanni's just a great show. Unreal.
I mean, anything Mozart. I love Mozart. I also love Verdi. You know what? Put it on there. Verdi Requiem. That one.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a dream. That's a dream. Yeah.
Verdi's my favorite composer. I've started singing more Verdi lately, you know, getting older, 30 now. Probably won't sing Verdi roles for a little while. Could sing them sooner in Europe because the houses are smaller over there. But Verdi, like singing like a Philip and Don Carlo or an Attila, or it's the best.
Yeah.
It's just incredible music.
Yeah, and start experimenting. You know, you got to do that at some point, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, my guy. Any final words from you to the fans, the audience?
Oh man, the final word to the fans. Geesh, it's crazy. Even
really, whatever you want to say. Where can people find you? I'm sure they'll be familiar.
Okay, where can you find me? You can find me on Instagram, Big Brev. You can find me on TikTok, Big Brevik. If you want to work with me, sing with me, reach out. You know, I'll you know, if I'm not seeing your message, you know, just spam my comment section. I will eventually see it. I'm sorry, you know, I'm sorry if I don't see it. Yeah, I'll just say, you know, big love from Big Brev.
Amazing, dude. It's been great talking to you, and we'll get off the horn here. All right, my guy.
Peace.